know.
His snaps against the Rams. Coverage starts Saturday at 6:30 on KRON 4. California at a crossroads. COVID-19.
We will be implementing an order requiring masking indoors, regardless of vaccination.
We've got to get the vaccine rate up significantly higher than what we thought the target would be.
Wildfires.
She could not escape the flames that consumed the entire town of Paradise.
It moved so fast. I saw it all.
Homelessness.
It's heartbreaking. We're an eyesore. We're not people anymore.
Bay Area
as the United States. This is a public health emergency.
And now a recalled election.
That is nothing more than a partisan power grab.
Gavin Newsom has to answer to the people of California.
Tonight, meet the three candidates willing to step forward on a stage together. The businessman, John Cox.
It's a choice between the beauty and the beast.
Former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer.
We can clean up California.
Assemblyman Kevin Kiley.
I've been fighting the governor for much of this year.
For the next hour, they'll face a gauntlet of questions. Listen closely to what they say, and you decide if one of these candidates should replace Governor Newsom. This is Inside California Politics, the Governor Recall Debate.
Thank you for joining us this Thursday night here in San Francisco for a special night of political discussion. Welcome to the KRON 4 studios in San Francisco. I'm Nikki Lorenzo of Fox 40 in Sacramento.
And I'm Frank Buckley of KTLA in Los Angeles. Many of you may see us weekly on Inside California Politics. We'll be your host this evening for the gubernatorial recall debate. You're watching this on one of 6 Nexstar media stations in California. We're broadcasting live from San Francisco to Sacramento, Fresno, Bakersfield, Los Angeles, and San Diego. You'll also be able to follow along our discussion on Twitter at #CARecallDebate.
Every registered California voter should receive a ballot in the mail with 2 questions on it. The first, should Governor Gavin Newsom be recalled? And if so, the second question, who should replace him? These are 3 candidates who want that job. 2-term San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer, 2018 GOP nominee for governor and businessman John Cox, and current assemblyman from the Sacramento area, Kevin Kiley.
To earn a spot on our stage tonight, each candidate had to meet our debate criteria, which we've posted for your review on Twitter at CAInsider.
Governor Newsom did not respond to our invitation. Republicans Larry Elder and Caitlyn Jenner qualified for tonight's debate, but all declined to participate.
Here's a quick rundown of the rules for the candidates so you at home know what to expect tonight. Each candidate will get 60 seconds to answer a question. If there is a follow-up or rebuttal, the candidate will have 30 seconds to answer that. We'll be reminding the candidates throughout the night of those times. And the sound of a bell will ring when the time is up. Just like that.
Each candidate will also receive 30 seconds for a closing statement. Polling from our 2 Inside California Politics Emerson College polls decided the order. So, Mr. Cox, you will get the first question.
So those are the rules. Now let's get to the first question of the evening. First of all, welcome and good evening to all 3 of you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for doing this.
We learned this week that all 3 of you are now vaccinated against COVID-19. 2 questions. When did you receive the vaccine? And what is your message to the millions of California residents who have been hesitant to get the vaccine? Mr. Cox, we'll begin with you. You have 60 seconds.
I got my vaccine early. I'm 66 now. I was 65 back then, and I got it. And my wife is vaccinated, and my daughter's vaccinated. And I think everybody should get vaccinated. I think that's the way out of this. I certainly think that people who have had the disease before might have antibodies and may decide not to get the vaccine, and I think that's their right as well. I'm against vaccine mandates. I think that's an intrusion on our liberty, but I think the answer is to get vaccinated. I think the problem with a lot of people not wanting to be vaccinated is, frankly, their lack of trust in government. Gavin Newsom exemplifies that. He raises money for his wife's charity. He gives out no-bid contracts. He famously went to the French Laundry in violation of his own rules. We have to make sure that people respect and trust their leaders. Integrity will be the byword of my term as governor, and I think it's about time we restore trust in government and integrity to the office of governor.
Mr. Cox, thank you very much. Mr. Faulconer, when did you get the vaccine, and what is your message to the hesitant when it comes to the vaccine?
No, thank you. I got my vaccine as soon as I was eligible.
My family's vaccinated. My kids are vaccinated. And I've been very clear and very direct. In every opportunity that I get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. That is the way that we're going to get out of this. And I say that because it is incredibly important that we continue to educate Californians about the safety of the vaccines. We have lives at stake. This is not an issue where you can mess around at all. How we get over this as a state and indeed as a nation is to get people vaccinated. And I also understood as mayor that we have to protect lives and livelihoods, and that you can do that. And we can keep our economy open, keep our businesses going, and encouraging and educating folks to get vaccinated. So I can't say that in the strongest possible terms. Everyone who's listening, please get vaccinated.
Mr. Faulkner, thank you very much. Mr. Kiley, same question. When did you get the vaccine, and what is your message to the unvaccinated? You have 60 seconds.
Well, good evening. I received the vaccine as soon as my age group became eligible, and my message to folks is that I will bring a new approach of trust. It'd be hard to imagine a greater recipe for distrust than the one that Gavin Newsom has followed. Last October, when he thought it was good politics, Gavin Newsom cast doubt on the vaccine. He said that we couldn't take the FDA's word for whether it was safe, and the chair of the United States Senate Health Committee had to write a letter to Newsom telling him to cut it out, that he was discouraging Americans from taking the vaccine and that he was costing lives. Then when it came time to actually roll out the vaccine, we had the slowest rollout in the nation. The governor did not prioritize seniors, and when they did become eligible, they'd spend all day on the phone and couldn't get an appointment. A member of the governor's own vaccine advisory committee said that his worst nightmares were coming true. And now we have these mandates. The governor says they're based on public health, but no other state has them. What they actually are is a campaign issue. We know that because a few days after he announced them, he rolled out a highly produced campaign ad with dire warnings that a new governor would roll them back. So I would have gotten the vaccine if the majority wants it as quickly as possible, respecting the minority rights of those who do not.
Mr. Crowley, thank you. Nikki?
Frank, thank you. We're going to stay with mandates. Each of you on the stage tonight are against Governor Newsom's vaccine mandates, but let's peel back the layers here and examine this issue in practical terms. Mr. Faulkner, you are up first with this question. You've said vaccination should be up to individuals, but parents don't have a choice about the measles, mumps, or rubella vaccine when sending their children back to school. Why is a COVID vaccine mandate for eligible children different? You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, I've clearly said I want everybody to get vaccinated, but when I think the biggest differences, because what I've advocated in Gavin Newsom, it's not a one-size-fits-all policy. I clearly want, I've been outspoken about this for a very long time, every part of California, every county is different. Let our local health officials make that determination based upon the facts of the ground. And what we have seen from this governor is a one-size-fits-all policy. Again, that's not going to work. That's going to cause vaccine hesitancy. We want to be able to have folks do it. We want to educate. We're not going to mandate our way out of COVID-19. And I think, again, that's the best way that we can do it. We want our schools open. And the fact that this governor shut down our public schools, the last state in the nation, I've been very outspoken about that. This past semester, our schools should have been open. Our kids should have been in the classroom. Private schools were open, but public schools were not because they reported to this governor. We want our kids in the classroom. We want our teachers safely teaching. That's how we're going to get over this.
A follow-up here, but what is the difference between the MMR vaccine that is mandated by the state for kids to go to school and a COVID vaccine for eligible students? You have 30 seconds.
Well, obviously, we haven't had that for that age group for kids yet. And so in the meantime, what I want to continue to do is making sure, again, everybody who is eligible to get vaccinated, that's how we're going to do it, to let our parents and our teachers be involved in making those decisions and not a one-size-fits-all policy from Gavin Newsom. That's not going to work.
Mr. Faulkner, thank you. Mr. Kiley, as a former educator, same question. Why not support a COVID vaccine mandate for schools similar to the MMR requirement that is already in place? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I'll note a couple things. First of all, if these mandates are such a great idea, then why is no other state doing them? California has had the highest level of government control and coercion of any state throughout the COVID era when it comes to all facets of the pandemic response, yet we've also had among the worst public health outcomes in the country when you measure excess mortality. Now, with respect to other vaccines, the fact is that prior to just a few years ago, in California, we did allow people to have exemptions on the basis of religious belief, on the basis of personal belief. In fact, I believe we're only one of 3 states in the country that doesn't have a religious exemption. The fact is that the majority of people in California want the vaccine, and I, as governor, would have gotten to them as quickly as possible rather than having the slowest rollout of any state in the country. There also is a small minority of people who are against certain type of medical interventions. That's not just vaccines, but blood transfusions, organ transplants. Some people oppose all kinds of medical treatments. It's vitally important to protect their rights because that's who we are as a country. We protect minority rights, but also it sends a signal to the larger group of people who aren't against vaccines in principle, but may have their doubts about this one.
Your time's up. Follow up, same as Mr. Faulkner. What is the difference between the MMR vaccine that's already required for students and a COVID-19 vaccine for eligible children? You have 30 seconds.
Well, as I said just a few years ago, we changed the laws when it came to those kind of vaccines as well. We used to allow for these sort of objections that people are raising based upon personal belief, based upon religion, based on other personal circumstances, but the state legislature made California a national outlier in taking those away.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Mr. Cox, same question. Why not mandate a COVID-19 vaccine for schools when students are already required to have MMR vaccinations? You have 60 seconds.
I would hasten to point out that this vaccine has not yet been approved by the FDA. It's emergency use authorization only. And again, I think it gets back to the trust issue as well. The MMR vaccine has been around for a long time. People trust that that is going to work, and it's not going to cause any issues. I think this is a little bit different than that. We've been through flu epidemics before, and we've never mandated the flu vaccine for people. Obviously, the COVID is probably, I know it's more hurtful than the flu. I've had it, so I know. But it is still a coronavirus like the flu, like the common cold. And the other part of it is that we're not going to get rid of this disease as well. Live with it. I think, again, parental choice is a real important thing here, and I hope we get a chance to talk about parental choice for all parents because they found out that they didn't really have much choice in the schools in this pandemic.
Follow up to you. If the FDA were to approve the COVID-19 vaccine, would you support a mandate like the MMR vaccine here in California? You have 30 seconds.
I think if the FDA approved it, I think a lot more people would feel more comfortable getting it. I think you still have the problem, as Assemblyman Kiley has pointed out, that there's some people that have immune resistance issues and other issues associated with taking a vaccine like this, and their views should be respected. We're not a country that does mandates and forces ourselves forces vaccines on people. We've only done that once with the smallpox vaccine, which was 100 times more lethal than COVID and didn't have animal reservoirs.
Mr. Cox, thank you. Frank.
Let's move on to mask mandates. Governor Newsom is requiring that all students and teachers wear masks indoors in all schools. Once again, all of you on this stage have made it clear you are opposed to mask mandates. Our question tonight, would you allow local school districts to make that choice, to mask or not to mask? Mr. Kiley, we'll start with you. You have 60 seconds.
Well, in my view, it's time to terminate the state of emergency. We've had a state of emergency here for about a year and a half, and I believe that the authority that is being claimed to do these mask mandates at all levels stems from the state of emergency, so I don't think it's an issue once the state of emergency has lapsed. I'll note on the issue of masks that the United Kingdom, for example, has said we're not going to have masks required for elementary school students because the harms to a child's development far outweigh whatever the benefits may be, which are not even very clearly established. And, it's almost certainly the case that those harms to development and other things associated with wearing a mask differ quite a bit from child to child, which is why we should put this decision in the hands of parents. And as one final point on this is that this wouldn't be as much of an issue if California would embrace school choice, as a lot of other states across the country are doing. That way, parents, if they want to send their child to a school where masks are required, they can do so. If they'd prefer to send their child to a school where they're optional, they could do that, which is why I'm supporting an initiative on next year's ballot to give school choice to parents and give them options.
I didn't hear you answer the question on whether or not you would allow local school districts to impose mask mandates on students. Can you give me a yes or no answer on that?
Yeah, so the answer is that I would not be actively denying that opportunity, but I don't think it would be allowed, that authority, under current law once the state of emergency has been terminated.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cox, how about you? Would you allow local school districts to make that decision on mask mandates? You have 60 seconds.
Well, again, the politicians in Sacramento want to dictate everything down to the local level, and so I would favor local authority on this as much as possible. But like my friend, I certainly favor parents having parental choice. the children have been used as pawns by the politicians during this tragic pandemic. My daughter was at home half the time when she did go to school. She was forced to wear a mask. It's very difficult for children. They have a real problem with the sociability. I mean, we're getting children at their early formative stages, and I worry about the damage. See, the trouble with politicians is they don't look at the cost of things. They just say, well, let's do it because we have to do it. But we have to look at the cost and the risks and the rewards of things. There's studies in Israel and Ireland that say that the masks actually cause more problems than they solve. I mean, especially with kids. They get these masks dirty, they carry microbes, and I think that's a problem.
Again, I didn't get your view, yes or no, to the idea of local school districts being able to impose mask mandates. Yes or no?
At the beginning, I said I think local schools should have the ability to do it.
Okay.
I would like to see school choice again, where parents have the power over their kids' education. I think we'd have a much better education system if that
Thank you, sir. Mr. Faulkner, how about you on local school districts? Should they be allowed to impose mask mandates?
Local school districts with the consultation of parents. That's how it's supposed to work. That's why you want that local authority and local control. And if you're sensing a theme tonight, and for me certainly, it's that when you have a one-size-fits-all policy, and the state is big and diverse as California, then you're taking away the ability to actually adapt to what are the facts on the ground in the various regions. I was very outspoken about that as mayor. And in fact, when this governor opened and shut down our economy, we had businesses in San Diego sometimes shut down 5 and 6 different times because of a one-size-fits-all policy. When the governor decided to shut down outdoor dining with absolutely no basis in the outdoor spread of COVID-19, that's why I firmly believe local health officials, local school districts, working with parents to make that decision based upon what the facts of the ground are. I think that's the right way to govern. I think that's the best way to get parental involvement and local elected officials whose job it is to do that.
Even if that is a mask mandate imposed at the local level.
We'll let them have that authority to do that.
All right, thank you very much.
The rebuttal, because we're talking about masks right now, but we need to keep in mind that this governor didn't let schools open at all. He did one of the few statewide school closure orders, and California was 50th out of 50 in getting our kids back to school, even though he knew the better option was to go to school. That's what he did for his own kids, and now he's more than hinting at another school shutdown.
Mr. Kiley, we want to try to give each of you equal time, so we're going to move to the next question. I know you have a follow-up.
Quick follow-up for all three of you. Should businesses, let's take this down a level, should businesses, specifically individual businesses like restaurants, ask for proof of vaccination and require masks? Mr. Cox, we'll start with you. You have 30 seconds.
Well, I'm the only businessman up here, and I would tell you that a business should be allowed to do whatever they want in terms of service. No shoes, no service. If they certainly wish to make sure that people are vaccinated, they should have the right to do that. I would discourage any business from doing it. I think a business that does that probably is going to lose business and lose customers for the long haul, and so I would lead the charge on advising them not to do that and stay open to everybody that they can have come into their business. The businesses that were shut down in this pandemic were just brutalized, forced out of business by the governor.
Mr. Cox, thank you. Mr. Faulkner, same question to you. Should businesses, individual businesses, be allowed to ask for proof of vaccination or require masks? You have 30 seconds.
Private businesses should have that opportunity to do what they believe is best. And again, when we start getting into, Gavin Newsom in Sacramento saying, here's what we're going to do for every single private business in all throughout our state, that's where we saw the problems and the shutdown and the lockdowns, again, not based on science. And we have to save lives. And we also have to save livelihoods. And the shutdowns in all of the small businesses, all of the restaurants, and so many folks that lost their job. Businesses that... This is so incredibly important.
Mr. Faulkner, thank you. Mr. Kiley, same follow-up question to you. Should businesses be allowed to ask for proof of vaccination or require a mask? You have 30 seconds.
Well, it's not clear to me that a governor would have the ability to tell them that they can't do that in terms of how they operate their establishment. But what a governor certainly could do is roll back the steps that California is taking towards a government-mandated vaccine verification system. Just today, the governor came out and announced that we're going to start become the only state in the country, and he emphasized that, the only state in the country that is requiring this at public events. California has been a national outlier throughout the COVID era, and the results have not been good. And by the way, it's not just folks like me who are against this idea of a agencies, and the ACLU has raised concerns.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Frank?
All right. A recent Inside California Politics poll confirmed what most of us know already, that homelessness is one of the biggest issues that, facing us here in California. In response to this crisis, Governor Newsom recently signed a bill authorizing $12 billion for housing and support for the homeless. It's the largest allocation of state funding to the homeless issue in California history. That's one of the things that Governor Newsom has done to address the issue. Now we want to know about your plans to solve the homeless crisis. Mr. Faulkner, you call your plan a streets to shelter approach. How would you deal with members of the homeless community who refuse to move to a shelter? You have 60 seconds.
I took aggressive and compassionate action as mayor of San Diego. Proud to be the only big city in California where we actually reduced homelessness by double digits. I did not allow tent encampments on the sidewalk. Why? Because we care about people. We care about folks enough not to let you die on a sidewalk. And if you allow tent encampments, that's what's going to happen in an unsafe, unclean, unsanitary environment. And you're right, I took a dramatically different approach. I created a shelter network. And I said very clearly that what I strongly believe is that every human being has a right to shelter. And when we provide that shelter, you have an obligation to use it. And I enforce that obligation in San Diego. I'm going to take that exact same approach as governor. We made a tremendous difference on our streets, our sidewalks, our freeway overpasses. I mean, it's the right thing to do to help people. You can throw all the money at the world at this problem, but if you don't have the political will to make a difference on the street, it's not going to change. Every Californian deserves to live in a clean and safe neighborhood. When I'm governor, they will.
I have a follow-up for you so that we can continue this conversation, and that is that and this I will ask of all of you in follow-up. We all know that a major contributor to the homeless crisis in our state is the high cost of living here in California, the affordability of homes. What would you do to make California more affordable? You have 30 seconds.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Our state is too expensive, and people are voting with their feet. They're leaving California because families can't afford to stay here. And we have a governor who doesn't seem to think that that's a problem. I do. That's why I put forward the largest middle-class tax cut. We need to let California history. We need to let hardworking Californians keep more of their money in their own pockets. And not what we see from Gavin Newsom in the legislature, which is the solution for every problem to them is to raise taxes, and they want you to send more money to Sacramento. That's the exact wrong approach.
Thank you, Mr. Faulkner. Mr. Kiley, you're in favor of creating more shelters and treatment programs. How would you address those people who are not interested in a treatment program or interested in going to a shelter? You have 60 seconds.
To answer your question directly, under the Ninth Circuit decision, you can actually tell them to move along from the streets if there's a shelter for them to go to, which is why it's important that you do have a roof available for every person to go to, so you can tell them to move along so that we don't have people who are living and dying and languishing on our streets. But I've been a member of the legislature for 5 years, and what I have seen is that our state government is fundamentally broken, and there's perhaps no greater example than homelessness. You mentioned the $12 billion in additional funding this year. This came after the governor's own mental health czar, his top mental health advisor in March, said homelessness in California is not a money problem, it's a leadership problem. I actually tried to do an audit of all statewide spending on homelessness in California, but the governor's office testified against it and pressured legislators not to approve the audit. And then I co-authored a bill that was written by a Democrat legislator to bring some accountability, passed the legislature unanimously, and the governor vetoed it. So we need to have a roof over the head of every person, and that's when we can connect them to the needed services that have been shown to work in other states.
Well, let's ask you the same follow-up question. How will you make California more affordable? You have 30 seconds.
Well, that's a hard question in 30 seconds because there are so many things that contribute to the soaring cost of living here. But housing is number one. Energy is certainly number two. Taxes are three. And then all of the regulations that we put on businesses that raise the overall cost of living. But housing is really what we need to focus on perhaps most, because we have a median home price in California that is over $750,000. That's up just 20% in just the last year. And it's the number one reason that the American dream is falling apart apart in California. This used to be the state where anyone could get ahead. Now it's the state that so many can't wait to leave behind.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Mr. Cox, you call your plan to reduce homelessness treatment first before housing. Can you define treatment, and what would happen to those folks who refuse to comply? You have 60 seconds.
This is an area where the career politicians and the celebrities and the insiders who have controlled this state for so long have illustrated, one of their worst failures. I was driving down Imperial Boulevard in San Diego the other day, and the tents are all over the place. What we've got to do is, instead of buying hotels and putting people in hotel rooms, we've got to get them treatment. And if we have to, we'll have to force them to get treatment. I'm a businessman. I want to use common sense and get to the cause of the problem, not just treat the symptoms. So for that, we have to cure the addictions. We have to get them to live with the mental illness and treat that. There's also a significant number of people on the street who cannot afford the life in an apartment or a home. I'm in the apartment business. That's the business I've been in for 40 years. I build for a fraction in other states what it costs to build in California. And it's government. It's the politicians, the insiders, and these celebrities who have been running the state into the ground who have made government the reason why costs are so high.
Same follow-up. How will you make California more affordable?
Get government out of the way. We've got to amend CEQA to exempt housing. We've got to reduce the mandates and the lawsuits and the impact fees. This state is way too expensive to build in. It's the same thing with energy. We've got to develop more energy in various sources so it's competitive. We need to do the same thing with water, more sources so it's competitive and it doesn't cost as much. And taxes. I proposed the largest tax decrease in California history, $30 billion, 25%. California's middle class pays twice what Colorado's millionaires pay. It's wrong.
Thank you. Nikki?
The Republican frontrunner, Larry Elder, noticeably absent tonight. In our latest Inside California Politics poll, Mr. Elder has a double-digit lead among likely voters over all of you here on stage tonight. So we're going to look at where he stands on minimum wage.
Regarding the minimum wage, the correct minimum wage ought to be zero. What does a third party have to do with how two consenting people decide to exchange services for money?
Mr. Kiley, do you agree with Mr. Elder? Should minimum wage be zero? You have 60 seconds.
No, I think there should be a minimum wage, although I'll say in California it's way off, and it needs to probably vary more by region than it does to reflect the cost of living. I'll also note that it's not a particularly relevant issue right now because you have McDonald's paying $22 an hour. Folks just are not coming back to the workforce because of the way our unemployment system has been mismanaged. But when you look at the question of the minimum wage, it's one of those things where from a sheerly economic perspective, then you could probably make the argument that it should be zero, and there are social costs associated with the sort of market distortion from imposing a price floor. But, I'm someone who doesn't always say you need to go exactly where the economic analysis leads. Occasionally, public policy can be an instrument for upholding values that are important to society. And I think that sort of the value that we will not allow someone to work on subsistence wages, the value of the dignity of human labor is one of them. And so I support some level of a bare, price of a floor for the price of human labor in order to uphold that very important social value.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Mr. Cox, same question. Do you agree with Mr. Elder? You have 60 seconds.
I'm going to take issue with your premise, by the way. I've looked at the polls. Undecided is running away with this race. Mr. Elder isn't, okay? The point is, this is one of those extraneous issues. I agree with what the young assemblyman said here. I mean, yeah, if we want to get into an academic debate, but, the shortage of labor right now is such that people don't have to worry about the minimum wage. Mr. Newsom is using this in his advertising. He's ignoring the fact that he can't produce electricity, he can't produce water, he can't protect people from wildfires that are threatening their existence. The crime rate is rising. Our tax burden is ridiculous. Our business climate is one of the worst in the country. And homelessness is littering our streets, and we have housing that people can't afford. My God, let's talk about issues that really mean something to the people that are trying to struggle to survive in this economy in California. We've got great weather, but it's not going to hold people here forever if these politicians keep talking about these issues that really, don't matter to most people and talk about the issues that do.
Mr. Cox, thank you. Mr. Faulkner, you used some colorful language this past week when talking about some of Mr. Elder's positions. Right now, we're talking about minimum wage. Yeah. I want to point out, as mayor of San Diego, you did veto a raise on the minimum wage. So do you agree with Mr. Elder? Should minimum wage be zero? You have 60 seconds.
I do not. We need a minimum wage. We need basic entry-level minimum wages for Californians, particularly for Californians that are just starting out. I have taken issue with automatic increases and going up too high. But should we have a minimum wage? Of course we should. Should we have economic opportunity? Yes. If you raise it too high, too fast, what happens, of course, is you take away that opportunity for so many Californians to move up, and you have folks that actually get laid off, and we've seen that in some of our small businesses. So I think you have to have that balance. But again, it's not necessarily about the minimum wage. It's about making sure we lower the burden for all Californians. I think that's one of the biggest things that we are facing, which is why I've put forward the tax increase on middle-class Californians so families can afford to live here, folks can afford to retire here for dignity. And it's about real, lasting, permanent relief, not what Gavin Newsom's going around giving $600 stimulus checks. We're talking $4,000 for family, enough for 8 months of groceries, 8 months utility bills, 92 tanks of gas. We need to lower the burden on Californians.
Mr. Faulkner, thank you. Frank.
You're all Republicans, and former President Trump may be the Republican nominee for president in 2024. Voters want to know where you stand on the former president. If he runs again, do you intend to vote for him? We're going to ask you for a show of hands first to tell us whether you intend to vote for the former president, and then we'll give you 30 seconds to explain yourself. So first, a show of hands. Will you vote for Mr. Trump for president if he is the GOP nominee in 2024?
We don't know.
If it's
I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance to explain.
Choice is easy. Look at what happened.
All right, we'll just go. We won't go for the hand, but we'll go for the explanation. Mr. Cox, you're first. You have 30 seconds. Do you intend to vote for Mr. Trump if he's the nominee?
If it's a choice between him and Joe Biden, look at what we're doing. We're piling more debt onto our children. We just lost Afghanistan and left people that had helped us on the ground destroy that. I mean, the mismanagement that's going on in California is really bad, but it pales next to what we're doing to our country. Yeah, I would vote for President Trump over Joe Biden any day of the week.
Okay, Mr. Faulkner, you have 30 seconds to explain. You didn't raise your hand. Will you vote?
Don't know who the nominee is going to be, and I think that that's important. But I also think let's not fall into the trap of what Gavin Newsom wants, which is he wants to make this all about the former president. It wasn't the former president who's created the homeless problem that Gavin Newsom's ignored in California. Because Gavin Newsom came out and enabled the defunding the police, not the former president. And so Gavin Newsom wants to make this all about national politics. I want to make it about Californians. I want to make it about a governor who's going to stand up and make the tough decisions to actually make a difference in our neighborhoods and not pass it on and blame it on national politics.
If Mr. Trump is the nominee for the GOP, yes or no? Will you vote for him?
We don't know who the nominee is going to be, and I'll make that decision at the time.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Kiley, you have 30 seconds to explain.
Well, my position has been very consistent since I was elected to the state legislature in 2016, which is that I stay out of national politics. We have more than enough problems here in California. I focus on my job, and I don't look at someone who voted for the former president or someone who voted for the current president and say, I can only work with one or the other. I say I want to work with both of you. And by the way, that's what this recall movement is all about. I have people who have donated to my campaign who say the only politician they've ever donated to other than me is Bernie Sanders. And I think that we have an opportunity right now to bring our state together around the sort of fundamental reforms that will get us back on the right track.
Yes or no?
I stay out of national politics.
All right. Thank you very much. Nikki?
Gentlemen, there is a campaign advertisement paid for by Mr. Cox that was released earlier this year that in a way attacks both of you. So here is part of that advertisement.
San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulkner got the city to overpay for a high-rise riddled with asbestos. The deal enriched a big campaign donor.
Mr. Faulkner, is Mr. Cox correct? Did you overpay for a high-rise that benefited a campaign donor? You have 60 seconds.
Well, look, your opponent, no, he's not, and opponents are going to attack you. Look, that's part of what happens in politics. And not every project is going to go well when you're mayor or when you're governor. And it's about taking steps to actually help, and in this case, making sure that we stopped the payment on the building that we found was asbestos, making sure we had an independent review. It's about fixing problems. That's what leadership is all about. And that's in marked contrast to what we've seen from Gavin Newsom, particularly when our Employment Development Department has $30 billion worth of fraud. And as we are standing here tonight, there's still 1 million Californians who can't get their unemployment checks. And so that's not fixing a problem. That's not stepping up and to make a fix. I'm going to ensure that fixing our unemployment department is our #1 technology improvement when I'm governor. We can do it. We're going to do it. Californians are depending on us to do it.
Follow-up, is the campaign ad true or false? 30 seconds.
It's false.
Mr. Cox?
Well, I'm sorry, I have to take issue with that.
Let me ask you the question. A response. Here's the response to that, and then we'll follow up. The Faulkner campaign put out a statement calling out your campaign for burning cash and losing landslide elections. Is that a fair assessment of your campaign? You have 60 seconds.
Listen, I got into politics as a businessman because I saw corruption. I saw corruption on both sides. And I made a vow to myself that I was going to get involved to get integrity and good management practices back into our political leadership. I look at our political leadership exemplified by Gavin Newsom, and I can't believe the corruption and the mismanagement that's gone on. So I pledge to every California voter, Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever, that I'm going to call out corruption wherever I see it. The facts are that this building was purchased with a campaign donor that had a major interest in it. And it was discovered that it's full of asbestos and it's going to cost the city $115 million to correct. It was a horrible deal. It shouldn't have been done. I think the mayor acknowledges it shouldn't have been done. But, you know, that's what we have here, ladies and gentlemen. We can get decent management. We can get somebody who's had 40 years in business, a successful business delivering results, or we can stick with the politicians who, frankly, do bad deals.
Mr. Cox, thank you. Mr. Kiley. That campaign ad, in a way, takes a swipe at elected officials like yourself, suggesting that what California needs right now is not another politician, but a business leader. Do you agree with that? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I think we certainly do need a lot more business leaders in California government running our state agencies. But one of the problems is that you get the top talent from the business world who come in and be put in charge of the EDD or any of the other number of dysfunctional agencies we have. And what they'll discover is they can't run it the same way they run a business. There are political barriers, whether it's arcane civil service rules or the collective bargaining that's layered on top of that get in the way of actually using the agency to have a customer service mentality. And so I've been in the legislature for 5 years. I know exactly how broken our state government is. And I think I know on day one how we can go about fixing it. And one of the central things that we have to do is just end this era of corruption in California. What has broken our state government is that we have a state capital that is entirely controlled by lobbyists and special interests. I see it every day, and we all got a glimpse of it at that infamous dinner that Gavin Newsom had with lobbyists last year. So I'm the only legislator in California, I think the only elected official at the state level, who refuses all funding from lobbyists and special interests. I'm 100% citizen-backed. And that is the kind of cultural change in our capital that we need if we're going to turn California around.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Frank.
Caitlyn Jenner tied for second in our latest Inside California Politics poll, but declined to appear this evening. Jenner has made... I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Jenner has made immigration one of the centerpieces of her campaign. Here's what she told us on Inside California Politics.
As governor, I would finish the wall on state land where you can finish the wall. I think we need controlled immigration in this state.
Mr. Cox, if elected governor, would you use state monies on a border wall? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I certainly believe that a border wall is needed. I would certainly want to have the federal government be taking the leading oar on that, and hopefully they would. Again, this is an issue where the politicians and the insiders have demagogued it for years. They don't want to solve the problem. We ought to have a guest worker program. We ought to have a way for people to get into this country legally, not take 10 years to do it. But we have to make sure that people can't just cross the border. I live in San Diego. I see human trafficking, drugs, and guns coming across this border. I'm fearful for my family. I want to make sure that every family in California is protected. I will absolutely kill sanctuary state status when I'm the governor of this state. The idea that our police aren't going to be able to talk to federal authorities about criminals in our midst who have gotten into this country illegally is just antithetical to actual change, protecting people. And that's what government's role is, protecting the people.
Mr. Cox, thank you very much. Mr. Faulkner, would you use state funding on a border wall? You have 60 seconds.
No, it's clearly a federal responsibility. Let me say at the beginning, we need to have safe and secure borders. It works. You have to invest in the infrastructure to do that. The federal government has absolutely failed 100%. And I saw it firsthand as mayor of San Diego, largest land port of entry in California. So I know what a safe and secure border means and how important it is. And absolutely, we have to protect against the human trafficking that is all too real. The drug smuggling that continues to occur. That's what it's at stake. And I also know how important it is to support legal trade and commerce between, particularly with Mexico and Canada, why I was so involved with getting USMCA passed at the federal level. How do we compete as a state? By working with our partners, how do we compete against China and offshoring? That strong North American competitiveness. So I saw it firsthand. As mayor, I understand the benefits of that. And as governor, I will understand how we work with our partners in Mexico and Canada to create good quality jobs.
Mr. Faulkner, thank you. Same question, Mr. Kiley. Would you use state funding on a border wall? You have 60 seconds.
I'd certainly do whatever I could.
On a border wall, you have 60 seconds.
I'd certainly do whatever I could within the constraints of state power to assist with the border situation and secure the border, because it's become untenable. Now, I will say I was one of the leading critics, and I fought against efforts in the legislature over the last few years to undermine the wall using state policy, because for, among other reasons, it was lawless. And, you know, the solution to lawless bad policy is not to replace it with lawless good policy. It's to respect the rule of law. And it's the rule of law itself that has sort of been the biggest casualty of the sort of change in policy that we've had at the border for the many, you know, sort of things that were just cited in terms of human trafficking, in terms of drug routes, not to mention COVID-19. And to give you one very clear example of how our state has aided and abetted some of these problems, the Sanctuary State Bill passed my first year in the legislature. And what's important to understand about this bill is it only applies to folks who, number one, are in the state illegally, and number two, have been detained for a criminal offense. It was a special bill that marked out a protection for that particular class and tied the hands of law enforcement and interfered with immigration operations. So I would try to reverse that however I could.
Mr. Kiley, thank you very much. Nikki?
Thank you, Frank. Our recent polling shows the Newsom campaign is losing support among the Latino community. They are the largest ethnic group in California at 39%, and some believe Latinos could decide whether or not Governor Newsom is recalled. Mr. Faulkner, I'll start with you. What do you think is the biggest issue facing the Latino community? And if you become governor, how would you fix it? You have 60 seconds.
We have to get our schools open. Too many Latino parents were faced with that horrible decision when Gavin Newsom shut down our schools. I have to go to work, or am I going to be at home to watch my kids? And I think that's why you're seeing the anger, the frustration that is real when we shouldn't have been shut down like we were in California, but Gavin Newsom did it. I think you're also seeing our Latino families and entrepreneurs, small businesses that were opened and closed, as I said, 5 and 6 different times because of the changing metrics that we got from this governor. Couldn't follow along, like virtually any business couldn't. But changing, it was on geographic color codes. It was handled terribly. And so there's real consequences of this. And so that's why you're seeing our Latino families who want a leader who's going to stand up, support our small businesses, who's going to support keeping our kids in school, and will give them a choice on where their kids should go to school. We need more parental choice. We need to support and expand charter schools in California. When we do that, you're going to lift up all kids from all backgrounds.
A follow-up on that, just more specifically, in your first term, if you become governor, what specifically would you do to reach out to the 39% of the population?
So we're going to give you choice in schools. You're going to have a governor that's going to understand how important it is to actually provide and promote and give you opportunities to be entrepreneur. You're going to have a governor that's going to lower the tax burden on you, because our middle-class families and our Latino families are paying too much in taxes to Sacramento. It's very simple economics. And again, that's why so many families are leaving California, because of how expensive it is. And so if we don't change that dynamic, we're going to continue to see that burden, not just on Latino families, but families all across California.
Mayor Faulkner, thank you. Mr. Kiley, same question to you. What do you think is the biggest issue facing the Latino community, and what would you do to fix it? You have 60 seconds.
I began my career as a high school teacher in South LA, and 70% of my students were Latino. And the lack of educational opportunity is absolutely, I think, the most important issue. You know, the mayor is correct that a lot of it's folks in underserved communities that just fell off the map, never even signed in for Zoom school. And I can tell you, though, that the problems that pre-existed that. The average reading level of my 10th graders when they came into my classroom was 5th grade. Even prior to COVID, California ranked 49th out of the 50 states in terms of education outcomes in low-income communities. So I came to the legislature to try to fight for educational equity and opportunity, yet every attempt I've made has been snuffed out by the biggest spending special interest in our capital, the teachers' unions, and they give more money to Gavin Newsom than anyone else. So he came into office. Jerry Brown had a more balanced approach, but once Gavin Newsom was there, it was open season. The war on charter schools picked up. He signed legislation that was condemned by civil rights groups like chapters of the NAACP and the Urban League, and it's for that same reason that he shut down our schools longer than any in the country, because it's what his biggest special interest benefactor wanted.
So let's say you do become governor. You mentioned trying to get work done in the legislature. You mentioned special interests. How would a Republican governor work with the balance that you would have to with supermajorities in the Democratic Party to get what you're talking about done? You have 30 seconds.
Well, I'd first say the era of corruption is over. The people of California have spoken, and I'd seek to spread my motto of only having citizen-backed legislators, not legislators who are controlled and funded almost entirely by special interest groups. But for my 5 years in the legislature, I've seen that the one thing legislators respond to is political pressure, the fear of losing their job. And if they see the governor has just lost his job, then there'll be a unique opportunity to bring about fundamental change on issues like education reform and school choice.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Mr. Koch, same question to you. What would you do to reach out to the Latino community and fix the problems that they face? You have 60 seconds.
Mi madre habla español para una nativa. My mother spoke Spanish like a native, and she taught poor children in Chile. My mom was a school teacher, raised as a single mom in the streets of Chicago. And I started at the bottom, and I got a good education. And then I got the opportunity to start my own business. That's what the Latino families need in California, and every family needs that in California. But the politicians, the celebrities, the insiders have denied them that. They take them for granted. They give them little checks here and there, and then they give them a substandard school system. And then they throw roadblocks in their way. You can't start a business in this state if you're an entrepreneurial bent. You have to go through miles and miles of documents and hire lawyers and accountants. Most people can't do that. You know, you have to have a license in order to shampoo hair in California. This is nonsense. We've got to make it easier for people to get a great education. School choice is absolutely what I'm going to argue for. And we need to make sure that people can start their own businesses and become a success and get the American dream like I've had.
So just to follow up here, you say education and regulation. 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Education is absolutely key. You have to have a good education. But we also have to cut the regulations that restrict people from opening their own businesses. The volume of lawsuits and regulations and bureaucratic mess. When I'm the governor of this state, we're going to slash regulation. We're going to make it easier for people to start businesses, because small business is the engine. It's the way that people can start at the bottom like I did and rise and get that piece of the American dream. And I want every Latino family and every family in California to have the same opportunity that I did.
Frank?
Right now, the largest single fire in state history, the Dixie Fire, is burning in Northern California. Much of the state is in extreme drought. Climate scientists believe that human-caused warming is at least partly to blame. Mr. Kiley, do you believe in human-caused climate change? And what would you do to reduce the number and severity of the fires that we face here in California? You have 60 seconds.
Well, I first want to send my thoughts and prayers to all the first responders who are fighting these catastrophic wildfires. And of course, climate change is a factor, but the expert consensus would say that it is by no means the primary cause. For example of that, you can look to the Creek Fire last year, which ravaged huge parts of Fresno and Madera counties, but it spared a forest around Shaver Lake, which emerged unscathed. It wasn't because climate change was somehow less of an issue in that forest. It was because that forest had been properly managed. They had strategically removed the oldest trees. They'd cleared out underbrush with methods like prescribed burns. And so if other forests in California were managed the same way, we wouldn't be having these catastrophic events with the regularity that we do. As it is, we have 15 to 20 million acres of overgrown forests in California, and the fact of the matter is that that there are only two ways that wood comes out of the forest. Either it's harvested or it burns. And for some reason, we stopped harvesting it. You know, our timber, the amount of wood we're taking out of the forest is about 1/4 of what it used to be. And that's why they've become tinder boxes, is because we've thrown all these regulations to actually removing timber. I'd say those back.
Let me ask you a follow-up related to climate change and emissions. As you know, Governor Newsom issued an executive order to reduce emissions in our state by mandating that all cars and trucks sold in California have zero emissions by 2035. Do you agree with that executive order? And what would you do to reduce emissions in California? We're going to give you a full 60 seconds.
Thank you. I do not agree with it for one reason, because the legal authority to issue it is quite questionable. The legislature had actually considered a similar measure, and it didn't pass it, so the governor just went ahead and did it unilaterally. But the reality is that when you have these catastrophic wildfires, it totally wipes out any gains you have from California's emission reduction policies. For example, you know, all of the emissions that we saved through policy interventions in 2017, there were 9 times more emissions from the fires that followed in 2018. So the best thing we can possibly do for the air, for climate change, for the environment, is to take the steps that are necessary to stop these catastrophic wildfires. I will say at the same time that the future of clean energy, the future is clean energy, and it's a very exciting one. But California is ushering us into that future in the most ham-handed of ways. We're throwing down all these regulations that have made energy cost more here than anywhere, and when it comes to renewables, we're picking winners and losers. For example, hydro and nuclear don't count for some reason, even though they're emissions-free. What we should be doing also is investing in new technologies, encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation.
Mr. Kiley, thank you. Mr. Cox, we'll ask you both questions. First, do you believe in human-caused climate change? And what would you do to reduce the number and severity of the fires we face? You have 60 seconds for that.
This is, again, one of the areas where the politicians and the insiders and the celebrities that have run the state into the ground have had tragic consequences. I'm not interested in just throwing out thoughts and prayers to the people who are suffering the fires, as well as the firefighters who are doing this. I want real help for a change. We have to manage the forest better. There's no question about that. I agree with Assemblyman Kiley. We also have to revive the timber industry. He's absolutely right. Not only the overgrown forests are bad for people and for the fires, they're also bad for animals. So let's make sure that we do that. But the other thing is we have to be able to respond to these fires when they happen. We've been letting them turn into infernos where they create their own wind and they have destructive consequences. And you know what? This ends up in the cost of living for everybody too, because our insurance premiums go up across. I've said that what we need to do is take some of that money from that bullet train, which I will end day one, and use it to buy airplanes and put tanks on them so that we can get these fires